Hey folks, John with Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. So you probably noticed by the title of this video what we're doing today and why we have this old Alienware computer sitting in front of us. Yes, it's time to explore, load, and play around with Windows 11. Now, here's my question, guys. Is this going to be an operating system that we like? Is this just going to be Windows 10 with fluff? Or is this going to be some sort of hybrid disgusting child of Windows Millennium Edition and Vista and 8 crammed together? Well, only one way will tell us. Now, I will tell you guys before we get started on this, we are going to do a load on this from base load all the way into Windows and all of the updates to see how long it takes, because you guys know Windows 10 can be a little finicky and does take some time. So, this annoys me. You have got to have two things, and they are critical before you can even load Windows 11. Number one, you have to have TPM on. For those of you that don't know what that is Trusted Platform Manager 2.0. For about, I believe it was 2016, they started, all of the computer manufacturers and hardware manufacturers starting integrating small chips into the motherboards. And it was a security protocol. In other words, it would interact with the software and it would make them a little bit more secure. Now, in a BIOS, you can actually enable and disable TPM. The other thing that you have to have, and this one really gets me, guys, you have to have Secure Boot loaded. If you're running Legacy instead of UEFI to boot off of your USB devices, your operating system that you had on there will be gone. You cannot boot that operating system once you put it back into Secure Boot. So everything must be done from Secure Boot, and no legacy devices will be supported. That's a pain in the butt, but not something we can't live without because we're all moving forward, right? That's the whole idea here. So here's what we're going to do. Using my video capture card, we're going to go ahead and start a Windows load on this thing, and we're going to go through the whole thing on this. I'm going to try to narrate as we go along and just see how long it takes. So here we go. All right, guys. There's zeroed out, but that just burnt right into that platform. So this is, for those who don't know, Stronghold Legend. Time to make a pie. Here we go. What I wanted to do from the first time I opened up that VIC-20 and started banging out programs. All right, guys. So we're going to start this from a standpoint of somebody that's already got Windows 10. And they're going to pop the disk in and it's going to install Windows 11. Now, I went through a root install of this with the thumb drive, and it looks exactly like Windows 10 as far as partitioning the hard drive and going further than that. So from right now, what we're going to do is I turn this off just to speed it up a little bit. We will let it check for updates. And remember, guys, this whole thing is being done on this Alienware computer. It's an older machine with only 4 gigs of RAM in it. It's still fast, but it's certainly not top of the line. So I am curious to see how long this whole installation takes. And we are going to do, I'm going to do this entire thing from beginning to end, guys. We're going to try not to cut it. I want you to see everything as we go. All right, so we're going to accept the terms that nobody ever reads. We're going to go ahead and check for our updates. Yeah, I joke about that, guys, but you'd be amazed. There's most people never read those terms, and some of the stuff might shock you when you get into it with how they track you, advertising, and all that kind of good stuff. So, all right. Now, this is not 100% necessary to check for the updates, but if you do it now, then your Windows updates after you do your initial load will go a lot smoother, and you will have device drivers that will be loaded, and you shouldn't have to go back and redo that either. So, now with Windows 10, if you do a base load of Windows 10 just off a CD key, you're going to be missing about half the drivers. You're going to have to load all your drivers up in your device manager, or run something like Driver Booster in the background. So we don't want to have to do that. So we're going to let this go here, let it get ready to install. And at certain spots, guys, I will fast forward a little bit just to take out the tedium. So, all right, ready to install. You will not be able to use your PC during installation. That was one thing that's different on Windows 10 coming up from Windows 7. It would tell you that you're welcome to use it until it reboots the computer the first time. So we're going to change what to keep on this one since I've already got an existing OS, and we're going to tell it nothing. We want to do a clean load on this hard drive. Now, when you do that, and change it to save nothing, it automatically goes back through and rechecks for updates because it's going to repull drivers it needs and everything else. One thing I am noticing, guys, which I find kind of interesting, I know this is a subtle, silly thing, but if you look at Windows 10 and pretty much all the OS is back to XP, all of your windows are squared. But if you take a look at this, you'll see all these corners are rounded, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but we'll find out when we go. So here we go. We're going to do the installation. And your PC will restart several times. All right, guys, we're going to speed this up a little bit, and we'll be right back with you. All right, so your PC will restart several times. It's going to restart now. So let's take a look. Now, one thing I'm curious about, guys, is post speed. So I want to time this from the time it starts booting until the time it gets into Windows. Now, we probably don't want to actually do that test until we are fully loaded, though, because we want to give it a full chance here to get everything loaded up and get the device drivers in so we can get a true estimate of time. So it rebooted one time already. It's coming in here doing the installation. Typically this is drivers. So let's get this loaded up and we will see what happens next. And we are rebooting again. Now guys, I am doing this on a video and audio capture device, so I don't know what the Windows sounds sound like when they go into Windows anymore. I am curious to see if they've changed that. That's one thing that they did typically change from operating system to operating system. All right, looks like we're coming up into something here. All right, check this out. So, okay, are we in the right country or region? United States, so yes. We're going to set up the keyboard for US, yes. We do not want to add a second layout. All right, well, I like the way the windows look. They're a lot more bright, colorful. A lot more stuff moving, let's put it that way. And down here it looks like we've got our accessibility options. Yep, they just changed the logo a little bit, but the accessibility options and your volume. And I don't really want to double up on the audio, guys. I'm going to turn up the audio a little bit on my external speaker. I know my capture device might catch a double on this, so we'll let you know. Now, this is one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, and I'll show you why. So one of the things that really bothered me about this was the fact that you cannot create a local account. Now, there is a backdoor way to do this, and we're going to go through this. I'm hoping they didn't remove that. But for right now, like if you sign in with a security key, it'll be a USB key. In the sign-in options, you're not going to have an option except for the key and forgot your username. Well, you know your username, but you don't want to use a local account. Now, you'll notice the screen blacked out a little bit. That's probably the video display driver loading, so don't worry about that. All right, so for the moment, we're going to sign in with my account. Now, you guys all know my email address, so I'm not going to get all, cover up and freak out on you here. And we'll enter our password. Now, you don't know my password, so I probably won't expose that to you. But, you never know. All right. And we're going to go ahead and sign in. Now, we can create a pin. You have to. Look, you guys don't, there's no option. Now, I'm assuming that what we're looking at is obviously not the final version of this product, but it annoys me when you're forced to do things. So we're going to go ahead and create a pin number here. And we're going to duplicate it. Now, it looks like you can include letters and symbols in your pin number these days, which, okay. But, all right, let's go on from here. Let's see what's next. Now, you can restore these if you want to. We're going to set this up as a new device. We do not want to have to restore. All right, location services for weather and stuff like that. Find my device, diagnostic. This is all pretty much the same stuff, guys. Advertising ID, okay? They can send you personalized advertising according to like websites you browse and cookies and stuff like that. We're going to leave all this on by default, guys, because this is what is coming on this by default. All right, to customize your experience, I kind of like this. You can set up what your computer is going to be used for, and it will allocate resources accordingly. So obviously I'm a gamer, so I'm going to set it up for gaming, which will probably speed up things, turn off power save and all that other good stuff. But as you can see, there are a bunch of different things in here where you can edit safety settings, presentations and videos, watch videos. Of course, that would pretty much go with gaming, I would think, and business, which I'm assuming has other applications too. So we're gonna go with gaming on this one. And it looks like you were able to skip that, but we're not going to. All right, now here you can set this to, now one thing about Windows 10, it automatically, when you set it up using your account to log in, would store your drives to OneDrive, or all your files to OneDrive as a backup. I like the ability to store them locally, because then you can create local backups as well. So that's how I'm going to set this one up. And no, that does not mean that I'm anti-cloud backup. It just means for this particular situation, we want to go that route. And guys, I'm sorry for catching any of that fan noise over there. It's a little warm up here in Texas. Oh, there's the old high like we're used to seeing. Very Windows 10-ish. I like the look of the new screen. Kind of like a purple blob that flows out there. I don't know if I like that or if it makes it look like you're kind of going blind. Either way, it's new. New is good. All right, almost there. Oh, look at this, guys. That is a totally new desktop we're not used to seeing. All right, well, let's start with the obvious, the elephant in the room. They moved the start bar from the left to the center of the screen. And it looks like they've got your search, they've got your task view. Those are widgets. I've never been real fond of widgets, but hopefully you can remove all that. File Explorer, Microsoft Edge, which of course you would want to use a different browser anyway, just saying. And of course the Play Store. Now let's take a look and see if it looks the same. So when you hit the start button, it brings up the square in the middle, which was kind of like the old widgets. Looks like you can add in different widgets into the center here. The All Apps should break into a menu, and yes it does, more like the conventional start menu we're used to seeing. And it looks like this is pretty much standard stuff. I don't see a whole lot that's new in this window. All right, so as you can see in here, now all these pinned items did actually populate there. So Messenger built in, Twitter, that's kind of interesting, Spotify and Netflix, everything is kind of built into that now, so that's kind of cool. Now let's right click on this and see if we get the same things here. Apps and features, PowerShell. Okay, one thing I am noticing right off the bat, Windows 10 has a system selection right here. And that system selection should look keyboard by the camera. So yeah, so here's your about your PC. And this brings up the about section. Now this is the same thing that the old system used to. All of this looks pretty much standard just like it used to. Setting display, sound, focus assist, everything over here is pretty much the same. Remote desktop, that's the same. Now, I do like, let's see here, Windows 11 Home Developer Edition, gotta love that one. And the install and the OS build, that's pretty cool too. BitLocker settings, guys, if you ever set up BitLocker, don't ever lose your password. That's a tough one to crack, let me tell you. Device Manager, we'll get to all this here in just a second. Rename this PC, so on and so forth. All right, so what we're going to do is let me right click on this. Now the other thing is if you type in system here, it should bring up the system information tab, and see it does right there. Now, this will give you more detailed information about your system, what operating system you're running, the manufacturer. This is basically everything that's being reported by the BIOS, and any other little miscellaneous data about the system itself. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you guys, and I know that this is really kind of nitpicking. I like the look of this. This brighter look. Now, I know that can be changed, but I am kind of enjoying the fact that everything looks a little brighter. It seems like they're a lot more colorful. Now, a lot of people out there in the IT world will just say this is cartoon, and they're right. Because in my opinion, at least at this point, this looks like Windows 10 with fluff. You've heard me say it before. You'll probably hear me say it again. So, all right, let's go ahead. Let's take care of some of the essentials. Let's right click. Let's go to the device manager. And at least they didn't move that. And let's take a look and see if all of our devices did load. Yes, we have no unknown devices, which is good. And yes, we have our correct device drivers there. All of our network drivers are functioning. This is nice. Now, this is different, guys, because when I did a Windows 10 load on this same system, just to use it as a beta system, none of the device drivers were there. I had to actually download all of the device drivers. So it's kind of nice that these were already in here. So that's kind of cool. So let's go over to, let's check out our control panel. Now, I want to see if they changed this. Okay, so this looks pretty much the same. Now, one thing I want to show you before I change the view on this, guys, remember what I was telling you about the user accounts and being able to sign in with a local account? This is where you can set it up to go to a local account. Now, look at that, guys. Sign in with a local account instead. Now, this, you had to go through all of that to get here. So if you click on this, it'll tell you, you want to switch to a local account. You can hit yes. And now you have to enter your password because it's going to remove your linked account, and it's going to create a local account. At this point is where you create the account. So we'll call this gaming PC underscore, we'll call it Windows underscore 11. Why not? And we're going to leave the passwords blank since I'm the one that's going to be playing around with this thing. And we're going to sign out and finish. Now, this is going to sign out of my account and then immediately create and sign into the new account. Now, this is what I'm talking about, guys. It should not be that difficult, and hopefully on the final release they'll have an option to do that. So we'll go back to that. All right, so let's look through a few of these other control panel items here and see what else has changed. Now, I know that one of the things that comes up is people want to see the network configurations, and I happen to agree with that. So we're going to take a look at the network configurations here, and we're going to look and see if any of this has changed. Now, so by default, we are on Ethernet connection right now. So we're going to change the adapter settings, and once again, that brings up a very familiar screen. And we're going to right-click on it, properties, and yes, none of this has actually changed, guys. This looks pretty much the same. Yeah, no problem there. So if we go back over to our network and internet connections, we can view our network status. From our status here, we can actually go down, if we can go to our network thing, and you can see, even though we are connected via LAN, it still gives us the option to connect to any of our Wi-Fi. So in other words, it's got all of the device drivers loaded correctly. And you guys just saw that pop up. Now, one thing that I like is that you can, anywhere in the search bar, now you were able to do this on Windows 10, you should be able to type updates, yep, updates, and it will go in and check for Windows updates. And as you can see, it's actually loading right now. It's pending downloads. Let's go ahead and download all these and let all that go. Now, some of these will install. Some of them will actually force us to reboot before they will install. And that's usually what these install errors are, is that it wants us to do something earlier. Oh, by the way, look at this date, guys. July 18th, 1968. Yeah, I'm probably thinking not. And you'll notice, by the way, that all the .NET framework and all that is for Windows 10. So as far as the software is concerned, obviously that hasn't been pushed up yet, but once again, this is still kind of in beta. So here we go. Now this is a late beta. As far as I know, this is real close to the finished product. All right, I'm gonna let these go ahead and install here real quick, and then we're gonna reboot the computer. There we go. And we could restart now and it would come back up and then automatically reboot, but we're bypassing that at the moment, so. All right, here we go. Killer Control Center just got installed. That would have to do, my guess is, with the LAN connection, because it's called the Killer LAN connection on these Alienwares. right, I'm going to let this go, and then we are going to restart her. The more you get done at one time, obviously, the less restarts you have. So, all right, pending restart. Here we go. We're going to restart the computer, and let's see what this does. Updates are underway. Now, that's a new one. Here's post, and coming in. Now, once again, we got to let the updates finish because that is going to slow things down a tad. But as you can see, guys, that's not a slouch. That's pretty darn fast. So let's go back in here. Let's check for more updates. Get them done real quick. And let's retry these because they will now update. Let's see how long this takes. All right, looks like it's downloading the update for Microsoft Defender. Always a nice thing to have. And you can view the optional updates, guys. Typically, these are device drivers. Yep, driver updates, and these will get updated anyway. It's firmware for the Alienware and a couple of the Intel drivers, but there you go. All right, I want to point out how fast that was, guys. Let me check and see if there are any other updates before we get too froggy. There might be a few. Nope, we are up to date. So, I'm going to reiterate this in the outro, but that was, I'm looking at my clock, from the original load time, a complete load of Windows 11, including full updates in 21 minutes. And that is on a 300 megabit connection. So we're not even on a gigabit. That's pretty darn good, guys. That's not too bad at all. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with Windows 10. Once you got to that, that patch update, that 2010H, whatever it was, that thing would take a long time and it would reboot several times. Then you'd have to come back in. It was like starting over. So that was pretty fast. So let's check out our OS build issue. Correction, information. And everything looks good here. Yeah, everything looks wonderful, guys. What I think I want to look at is in activation. I did not activate this, but my guess is it probably by default, it's activated with a digital license. Yeah, I figured as much since this was a demo version or a beta version. So backup, my guess is this is going to be all OneDrive, or if you're using the old Windows 7 backup and restore, you can still use that. I kind of wish they'd bring that back, guys, so you can have nice backups locally. Find My Device is turned on for developer. Now, this is going to be where you can turn on apps from any source, external stuff. You can change the settings for file extensions, so you can show them or hide them. All of this stuff can be modified right here. And the Windows Insider program, if you sign up for this. Now, something interesting. I had pulled up the Windows specifications that you had to have to run this operating system, okay? And it said it was a dual or quad core processor with 4 gigs of RAM, a video card that was capable of running DirectX 12, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything that this system actually does meet, even though it's an older unit. And yet, it still says that it doesn't meet the minimum requirements, and yet here we are. So I haven't seen any bugs yet, so we're going to assume that maybe they're still working that one out. Now, one other thing I want to look at is I want to look at the sharing, and it looks like none of this has changed. So all of the sharing stays the same, so you can share a file, and you can share it with everyone, add them in, give them read-write permissions. There you go. And you want to turn on network discovery. Now, that was interesting. Typically, whenever you have a new network connected to an operating system, it'll come up and say, is this a local network, your home network, or is this an away network? And then it would set this up for you. So that was kind of interesting. All right. Advanced sharing works the same way. Share the folder. We can go permissions. We can give it to everyone to allow for full change and read access. And hit OK and apply, and everything's, yeah. So everything there is pretty much stays the same, guys. So from a standpoint of the looks, it looks a lot like Windows 10 with a lot more color, a lot more fluff. I do love the curved edges. That's kind of cool. I don't see a lot of other outside changes. We can check a couple of things that we normally use, like if we right click and go to run, can we still get to the old disk partition manager? Let's see here. And yes, we can. So that allows you to access your partitions on your hard drive. You can list your disks, list your partitions, change things up. That's kind of cool. We can go to, obviously we can still get to command prompts. We can still get to all of our social files. None of that has changed. And every other directory pretty much looks the same. So overall, with the exception of the movement of the taskbar to the center, I know there are backend security fixes, but the overall look of it looks to me like a lot like Windows 10 with fluff for the most part. I did like how fast it loads, and I definitely like how fast it updated. That was pretty nice. Apps and features, it looks like all pretty much the same. Nothing has changed here. Yep, everything is exactly the same. And from a standpoint of external drivability, looks like all drives work normally, exactly like they always did. So guys, there really is not a lot of change between this and a Windows 10 machine, except it's going to take me a while to get used to not clicking over here for the start bar, that's for sure. Disk management functions normally exactly the same, just like disk management did before. Everything else seems to look the same. So if you're going to be talking about making a transition to Windows 11 from Windows 10, the only culture shock you're going to suffer is obviously the location of that bar. Beyond that, it does not look a whole lot different. It all looks pretty much the same, guys. So, all right, well, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and this is the Edge setup. As you can see, we launch Edge. That's fine. And you can go through all this if you want to. We're not going to do any of that because we've already taken a look at it. I want to go to a larger site and see how quick it comes in. Now, I know about you guys. I don't use Edge anyway. Typically, I'll use Opera or Chrome like everybody else does. But since Edge was technically built on Chrome, it's a lot better than it used to be, that's for sure. All right, guys, well, let me go ahead. We're going to wrap this one up, and then I'm going to be right back with you and give you some final thoughts on what we think. We're going to shut down, and that was quick. All right, guys, so we'll be right back with you. Well, I got to tell you guys, so after going through this, and I know I put this in the video, I want to reiterate this. We went from cold boot, in other words, first load, partitioning the hard drive, doing all of the initial file loads, and then going on into Windows, all of the updates, and ready to go in 21 minutes. Now, I'm on a 300 megabit connection here at the barn. It's not even a gigabit. It's not that fast. That's pretty impressive. And from what I understand, that has a lot to do with the way they did things on the back end. The updates on Windows 11 are a lot smaller, and they're constantly loading like Windows 10, but they're updating as they load, which is pretty cool. A couple other things I kind of like. I don't mind the fact that they moved that taskbar to the center. Okay, it's a little annoying, yeah, but I mean, it looks a little different. To me, it's like Windows 10 with fluff. That's what I'm seeing here. There's not a lot of big changes and earth-shaking things. I do like the widgets tab. Now, we didn't do too much with the widgets tab down there, primarily because it's not totally functional yet. When you click the widgets tab, it would bring a pane, which looked like a pane of glass across your screen, and it would have all your start widgets on it, like the original Windows 10 would when you'd hit the start bar, all the little widgets at the top. That's kind of cool. It allows you to to partition out widgets, move them over to the side while you're doing other things. And another really neat thing about it that I did kind of dig, apparently Amazon is going to have their own app store that will allow you to run Android apps on a Windows machine. Now that's a big deal, and I'm not a big TikTok fan, but just say you are. You launch a TikTok app and you got it running up on the right while you're doing your spreadsheets and your work on the left. That's pretty neat that you can actually do that. Just like Windows 10, seamless integration as far as the Xbox goes, and that's pretty cool in itself. I didn't see a lot that annoyed me. I really didn't. Everything seemed to be, well, excuse me. One thing did annoy me, and I will point this out right away. When you do your initial setup, it does not give you the opportunity or the option to create a local account on Windows. You must have a Microsoft account to set it up. That's a problem in my book, guys, because what if you don't want one? What if you want a computer that's not even connected to the internet? Well, you can't set it up. Once you get to that point, no activation, no internet, no computer. That's a pain in the butt. Now, granted, once you get in, you can create the local account and go through all that, but you shouldn't have to. It's kind of a pain to me. Overall, I like it. I like it. I like the fact that the windows, instead of being squared off, are kind of curved. It's a softer look. It looks a little more intuitive for certain people. It's a lot brighter all of the little folders and colors and all that kind of stuff. That's really cool. It's not as intrusive or annoying as Windows 8, but it's okay. I mean, it's not a bad operating system, guys. It really isn't. I will do updates on this as we go along. I actually, off camera, burrowed into some of the network settings, security protocols, and some of the back-end stuff. It was Windows 10 with fluff. There's not a lot of change there, just like I keep saying. And I didn't see anything that was earth-shakingly different, you know, like a transition from, say, Windows XP to Windows 10, or from Windows 98 or 2000 to Windows XP was. To me, it's just like the next logical step before they launch something new. So we'll see what happens with that. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. You got watching that sub count down there. Let's see, 974 last time I checked. Getting close to that 1,000 and the giveaway, and it is still coming. So like and subscribe to the videos, guys. Let's get this thing moving. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.